Today we'll be talking about knives and knife skills, the skills that go with using just about every knife that you're going to use. The first knife I have here is what we call a chef's knife or a French knife, which is pretty much the knife that you'll use most of the time when you're in the kitchen. The chef's knife, what you're going to look for whenever you buy any type of knife is you're going to look for a very sturdy handle, something that you can see that the actual blade will actually go through all the handle here, and so it'll be very sturdy. We're also going to look for little edges here. We want to make sure that there's no edges so that no food or no debris can get caught in there. We're also going to want to make sure that it's sharp, obviously, and we're going to want to see that we have a nice tip on it. Sometimes knives get dropped and they lose that tip, and that's not a good thing. So what we're going to do is we have our chef's knife, and then we also have our paring knife, which we use for just about everything when it comes to cooking in the kitchen. We can do pretty much anything we want to do with just these two knives. There are some other knives out there, the serrated edges and the big long knives and things like that, which are used for different uses, but the chef's knife can actually fill in for those uses just as well. So we're going to stick with these two today. So what we have is with the chef's knife, whenever we're cutting, I want to make sure that I always cut on a 45-degree angle. So, for example, we have a 45-degree angle here, and I have my hand behind the knife. So what I do is I will actually rest the tip of the knife right on that front knuckle there, so that I know whenever I'm cutting right where the knife is at all times. Okay? No problem knowing where it is. So as I cut, I'll keep the tip of the knife on the board, and I'll actually kind of roll forward. So I use this natural rocking motion. That allows you to use the entire edge of the knife versus using just one little space. If you use just that one little space and just kind of cut straight up and down, then you end up making that space really dull, and then the rest of the knife isn't nearly as effective. So keep that in mind when we're using these. This is for safety. We want to make sure that we run right across the edge there, or right across the edge of our knuckle there to make sure that we're all set. Now with the paring knife, it's not going to work the same because we're not going to have the same edge. You're actually going to get very comfortable with this to the point that you can actually, if you go straight on with your thumb and you don't move it at all, if I was to move up or down, it would hurt. It would cut me. If I just go straight on, I'll be just fine. So whenever I'm peeling, whenever I'm dicing up, anything like that, I always go straight on. Okay? So those are two knife skills that will come in handy no matter what you cook. Always make sure that your knife rests on the tip of your finger, and always make sure you keep the tip down, rock forward. And if you keep it at 45 degrees, then you can always see what you're cutting and what you already have cut. Some knife tips and knife care tips would be that you want to make sure that whenever you get a knife, that you take good care of it, meaning that you clean it after you use it, but also that you keep it sharp. So now when we sharpen the knife, we use what we call a steel. The steel actually doesn't sharpen the knife, but it trues the edge. So what happens is that on a knife, you have little teeth that sit on the edges. As you cut, these teeth, they kind of get bent over. As they bend over, then it's not quite as sharp. So what we do is we use our steel to true the edge or make those teeth straight again so it's nice and sharp. So what we'll do is we will put it on about a 20-degree angle, and when we put it on that 20-degree angle, I'll go straight out on both sides, because once again, remember that the teeth are going to be bent over a little bit and we want them to stick straight up. So that's why we'll go on both sides. 20 degrees out on both sides. These are some tips that'll help you no matter what knife you're using and no matter what you're cutting or what you're using that knife to cut or chop or mince or anything that you're doing. So just make sure that you're safe and that you do what you know how to do, and you should be just fine.